Sure. So I've been in the sports industry for about 10 years now. After I left university in Liverpool, I moved down to London and started to work for ITN Productions in rolling sports news at Setanta, and then at Sky Sports News, and then moved into more mainstream programme development at Endemol for about 3.5 years, 2.5 years spent in Abu Dhabi, launching the English Premier League channels for Abu Dhabi Media. Then moved back to London to work for Perform Group, which is an international sports digital agency, and that was very much in rights and acquisitions and news gathering. And then about 2.5 years ago, I had the call from Formula E to come and lead their media strategy, and that's what I'm currently doing for Formula E at the moment. Yeah, it revolves around 3 areas. That's rights, digital, and host-broadcast production. And all of those 3 are very much interlinked. So the strategy around how we produce our content, the strategy around how we sell our rights, and the strategy around short-form digital commercialization. And those 3 areas really form the bedrock of the media team. We have over 70 broadcasters now worldwide, and the syndication and distribution of all that content sits within the media function within Formula E. I think it's all around early work experience at a variety of different companies around the world or in the UK. I think before you get into your first real job, you need to have a good experience across rights, so across production and across digital now, and social media is very, very important. I think an employer at the moment, what I'm looking for is someone who has a varied experience and who's worked for different companies, so whether it's small startups or big multinationals or big blue chips. I think it's important to get a diverse and varied look at the sports industry early on, because that will benefit you as soon as you get into your first job, wherever that may be. If it's a startup, you might have had a little bit of startup experience where it's more entrepreneurial. If you've worked at a big blue chip, it's more process-led, or you might have worked abroad internationally, which I think, again, I found that very useful in the Middle East, where you've got a completely different culture. So that first job, you've then got much more of a broad base of experience and knowledge to draw upon. Companies these days are very, very broad in terms of who they employ, and I think if you can go into your first job having had that experience, that will leave you in good stead for the future. I think it's gone very well. I mean, I think we've definitely provided a different type of proposition to other traditional motorsport in the market at the moment. We've had to start from the very, very, very beginning. So that's given us a good opportunity to be different from the very, very outset. So I think the TV proposition isn't just a straight up live product on a weekend. It's the whole piece around fan boost, around technology, innovation, but ultimately having competitive drivers and competitive city centre street circuits is the bedrock of what we do. Yes, we have our own communications team that is a function within Formula E that will organise, obviously, the event PR and race PR, but any other event outside of that, we do that in-house. Well, I think the strategy is very, very, very diverse from most other sports, and it's based upon technology and it's based upon engagement across mobile, and we've really focused in on that. So if you look at the Fan Boost product, that is all about being active online and active on mobile, so you can vote for your favourite driver, which then influences the outcome of the race. So that in itself is probably one of the most innovative products out there in sport media. So we've honed in on that, and that's a product we'll look to develop over time. It's quite controversial in places because the traditional motorsport fan maybe doesn't enjoy it so much, but we believe that we're hitting a completely new audience, and that's what we focused in on. So everything from the app to the website to all of our broadcast partners, we encourage them to be innovative across new media platforms. Well, from my perspective, from a TV side, it's very, very challenging. So to rig a street circuit versus a fixed stadium or fixed circuit like Formula One use, we have the challenges that, for instance, Formula One faced in Baku, we have that every single race. So here, this is one of the toughest circuits to rig. It's very, very vast, it covers a huge area, and a park is not a normal place where you go and stage an international sporting event. So we have a very experienced team of producers and riggers and camera professionals who have done this their whole lives. So we tend to go and hire people who are used to street racing, but it's not easy, from building the structures to building the TV compound. We don't have fixed locations, we don't have internet when we get here, we don't have power when we get here, so we don't have a lot of the things that make it easy when you go to a circuit or a stadium where they have all the infrastructure. Here we've got to build it, and we have a very short amount of time to do that because we want to minimize disruption to the city. So all of these challenges affect TV and they affect the media product. So I would say we're in a very, very different position to where we were 2 years ago in the first race in Beijing, where that was our first ever race. Now it's more of a plug-and-play solution where we know what to expect when we get to the circuits. So this is the second time we've been at Battersea Park, so it's slightly easier than last year. But a lot of the same issues will arise, from the tree coverage here, frequencies for the drone, for the helicopter. It's a hard race to cover, but that's where we feel we're distinctive in that the coverage is different to a circuit. We have tight circuits, it's narrow, the drivers have to be very, very accurate. If they're not, they hit the wall and they're out of the race. So that's how we feel we can be different, but also the city centre street racing is in our DNA. That's where we want to race. It brings electric cars and electric mobility to the people. People can walk to the race, they can get the tube, they can get the bus, they don't have to go 2 or 3 hours outside of where they live. And it's cheap and affordable and accessible. And I think accessibility and participation are two of our core values, which we have probably over other motorsports.